Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Sunday night. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I hope that you stayed dry because, as we will get into later on in the show, many of us did not over the weekend. But glad to be back with you for another week of Prime Time and ready to get into some Titans conversation before we head back out to training camp tomorrow. The guys had the day off today, so did we, but now we have this time together to talk about what to expect. We'll get into A.J. Brown. He was fiery yesterday at practice in his post-game media availability. I think they put on a little bit of a show between him and Julio the last couple of days because the Titans did invite some fans out to watch practice. A couple of high school football teams, it looked like. It was a good time. But we got a really good sample size of what we can expect from 1K Always Open and his partner in number 2 in two-tone blue, Julio Jones. We'll talk about that. We will get to what I am looking for in week 2 of training camp, getting ready to begin tomorrow. And then this is a free site, the best thing that I saw on the internet this weekend, all ahead on tonight's show. Before we get to any of that, though, I need you guys to share this show wherever it is that you're hanging out with us. If you're on Twitter, do me a solid, bottom right-hand corner of your screen, retweet this show. Get your people involved. If you're El Boogie 808, if you're any of our Twitter people that we see tonight on A to Z Sports Prime Time that like to comment, Tribe Called Quez, all of our good friends, retweet the show. We would appreciate you doing so. If you're hanging out on Facebook Live, share now to public in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. I'll do it on my Facebook page right now so you don't feel like I'm asking you to do something that I wouldn't do. Share now to public. It's how you get involved on the A to Z Sports Prime Time show. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, go ahead and subscribe to the A to Z Sports channels where you can get all of our stuff 6 days a week and sometimes 7. Because I know Luke Worsham went live yesterday too. And now that more of you are here, well, we can go ahead and begin the show officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Sunday night from the DraftKings Sportsbook Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the fine folks at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford, where you go for incredible American-made Ford vehicles. Go pay them a visit in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. They will get you in on all the action with promo code A to Z Sports, MLB, anything in between. DraftKings Sportsbook. Gary Ashton and the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com, the official real estate agent of the Titans, the Preds, and A to Z Sports Prime Time. Your dream address without the stress there. Brymak Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymak.com. Satisfaction guaranteed on all of your HVAC needs. 3 locations. Give them a ring at Brymak Mechanical. All right. So 4 days into practice, 4 days into training camp. The next week, beginning tomorrow, out on the practice fields at St. Thomas Sports Park. And I want to get into something that we've seen through the first 4 days and what we look to expect over the next, week or so, probably the next 4 days, if we're doing the math that evenly. But before we do that, I want to ask you guys a question. Your Two Rivers Ford take here tonight in the comments on Facebook Live, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Who are you more excited to watch once the season begins, given that it sounds like there is going to be a Nissan Stadium practice for fans free to come to, which is exciting. So you get to see a little bit of them. But once the season gets underway, who are you most anxious or who are you anticipating that you're going to enjoy watching the most once the season begins? Julio or A.J. Brown? Let me know in the comments on these social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Who are you more excited to watch this season? A.J. Brown or Julio Jones, your Two Rivers Ford take? I ask this because the beauty of it is that you have both of these guys, right? You have Derrick Henry in the backfield. You have Ryan Tannehill, who's been a little shaky at practice in the first week, but we'll get to that later on in the show because I want to talk about Tannehill at greater length. But you have an exciting offense and an offensive line that looks to be rounding into form in terms of Nate Davis and Taylor Lewan, Roger Saffold, Ben Jones. Now you just got to figure out who's on the right side. There is a lot to be excited about. So I'm not necessarily saying you got to like one over the other. You can be excited about all of it because you have all of these things at your disposal. But just based off like preseason anticipation, who would you say you're more excited to watch? You'll hear from AJ Brown later in the show, but first I want to tell you about the people who present the Two Rivers Ford Take. Two Rivers Ford. Since 1983, they've been providing you exceptional customer service and award-winning American-made Ford vehicles. Two Rivers Ford is the best in the business when it comes to your satisfaction, when they seek out the vehicle that makes the most sense for your budget and for your family's needs. Two Rivers Ford has been doing this for nearly 40 years, which is what makes them the best Ford dealership around. The unparalleled buying experience since 1983. So if you're in the market for a vehicle, new or pre-owned, contact one of the non-commissioned salespeople at Two Rivers Ford and see what Ford has to offer. Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people. So who are you more anxious? Who are you anticipating that you are more excited to see once the season gets underway? AJ Brown or Julio Jones? Let's read some of your comments before I get into this at greater length. Evan C. White on Twitter says the man dishing the rock to them. So we'll talk about Tannehill later in the show. I don't want to get into it a ton here, Evan, but I want to see more from him because the first week has been shaky at best. And like, I'm not been out of shape about it. There's plenty of good out there with some of the mistakes that are being made, but there are mistakes being made. So we'll talk about that later on in the show. Preston says AJ. Clayton on YouTube as well says AJ. Justin Tomaselli on Facebook Live is going with AJ. He is going off this year. He seems to think so too. You'll hear from 1K always open momentarily. Julio for sure, but how's AJ's knees? Says Lane. Eisenhagen, I think is how I say it. Either way, Lane, my bad. Lane wants to know how AJ's knees are. Well, here's what I'll tell you, okay? Now, they have been managing both of these guys, AJ Brown and Julio Jones, and a lot of the vets, right? Lawan has had time off. Henry has had, days where he's doing lighter work, sand pit over, on the field drills some days. They're doing a lot with the veteran offensive linemen, whether it's Saffold, Ben Jones. They are managing these guys individually on a case-by-case basis. So Julio has done not as much work as you might anticipate, right? He's worked 2 of the 4 days, 50% of the time, which is about what we expected. AJ Brown, a little more, just a tad more at this point. 3 of the 4 days, AJ Brown has been the story of camp. And if you ask AJ Brown how he's feeling, like we did yesterday, this is what he would say to you.
Most definitely, it takes reps. But for me, like, I'm always a student first. I'm always trying to watch something to learn and put it in my game. And it's off season, I wasn't really able to like get out there as much. And but as soon as I got back here, I just felt comfortable. Like I said, I could do whatever I want to do when I want to do it.
From a health standpoint, you battled with the knees last year. We didn't see the OTAs. Did you feel right from day one at camp this year, and you kind of feel like yourself again?
I'm pretty sure everybody can tell I'm healthy. Yeah. As soon everybody else will know too.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, I'm excited. This is probably like one of the first times me going into training camp where I'm fully healthy. Like I said, I'm just flying around, having fun, and making plays.
He said, "I'm pretty sure everybody out here knows that I'm healthy, and soon soon everybody else, talking about the rest of the league, is going to know too." AJ Brown has put people on high alert. The rest of the league, his teammates, he was joking around he was great in his post-game or post-practice media availability. It's why I miss doing these. I'm so happy that we get to do these things in person again because we get so much better responses from the guys, right? When it's a little more human, the interaction that we have. But AJ is just out there dusting dudes, like absolutely killing guys. And what he said to us was like, yeah, on the field, I'm not giving these DBs any words of advice. I'm not coaching them up after the play. When we're out there on the field, I hate them. In the locker room, yeah, it's different. But out here on the practice field, I hate these guys. And he is practicing like he hates every defensive back out on the field. I'm telling you, because I needed to take stock of this. And in fact, we'll get into this here in just a second, because something about A.J. Brown made me pause for a moment and just kind of take stock of it, what exactly it is that we have watched through 3 days for him, 4 total days of training camp, 3 days that AJ's been on the field. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting too far ahead of myself just based on a handful of camp practices, right? But we'll get into that here in just a second, because I'll tell you who I'm more excited to watch in the 2021 season. More of your comments coming up as well, right after we remind you about the fine folks at DraftKings Sportsbook. America's top-rated sportsbook app is DraftKings Sportsbook, the best in the business by any stretch of the imagination. Speaking of America, by the way, DraftKings Sportsbook has a medal-worthy offer just for my listeners. Place any pre-event wager of $1 in the Olympics to be eligible to cash $100 in free credits if America wins any medal this year. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code A2ZSports when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal in Tokyo. That's code A2ZSports to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Tennessee only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789. DraftKings Sportsbook, promo code A2ZSports. So I'm most excited to watch A.J. Brown, because what he's saying there, and the question that we posed to you here on A to Z Sports Primetime from the aforementioned DraftKings Sportsbook studios, is which of those two players are you most excited to watch once the season gets here, A.J. Brown or Julio Jones? And I'll tell you that I am fired up to see what Julio and Derek and A.J. and Tannehill and Ferkser and how this offensive line works together. I think that this unit, there is a bit of depth concerns, and we'll see just how big a concern the depth is the more we get through camp, right? The more reps we see with these guys once they get the pads on, and the offensive line, the defensive line, the running game starts to take shape a little more in a way that we can actually see the blocking assignments for the tight ends, how they manage that. Because, of course, that's not all of their game, but it's an important part of their game in this offense. So with all that being said, I'm excited to see the whole picture. I am fired up to watch an offense that scored 30.7 points per game last year and may come back, mess around, and get close to it again. I think it would be tough to match it or eclipse it, but damned if they're not capable of doing it. And in theory, with a defense that should be markedly improved. We will see on that note. But Julio, I'm more excited because, one, he's Julio Jones, and two, because I want to see how he fits in the picture. But in terms of individual performance, man, I can't take my eyes off A.J. Brown at any point. At any point. Because I was going through this and I'm thinking, this man had 1,075 yards. I think just right around 1,075 yards last year, about 750 receptions, played less games than his rookie year, right? Started 12, played in 14. He missed a handful of games with these knee injuries, played through the season on 2 bad knees, right? Where he goes down, it seems, right after the first time that he's tackled in every one of those games that remain. Had the knee scope in the offseason, really seemed like he was battling through it, to his credit. And listen, there are plenty more severe football procedures, post-football procedures, than a knee scope, right? It's not something that's overwhelmingly serious, but he's a young player in the league and really just starting to have his body go through some of this stuff. We'll see where he's at in 5 and 10 years into his career. But at this point, this is A.J. Brown learning how to play through adversity. Now, he played throughout the rest of the season, despite clearly being debilitated. So I'm watching A.J. Brown last year. I'm thinking this man was dominant, as good as any player at his position outside of 3 dudes, right? Julio being one of them. And when Julio's healthy, rather, understanding that Julio did not play the majority of the season last year. But for AJ, I'm thinking, well, if he is capable of doing that on 2 bum knees, how much better how much further can we go before we hit the ceiling on this guy? How much more does he have to give? How much can he continue to take over a game in a position that's hugely dependent on the guy who's responsible for delivering the ball and really on the offense for creating explosive plays? Wide receiver, though, I think might be the most dependent position. But how can A.J. Brown, if he is one of these rare players, how can A.J. Brown, from probably the most dependent position, find a way to elevate the rest of the offense in a way that Julio Jones has done himself for years? Matt Ryan, also a good player, an MVP, a Super Bowl. Well, he competed for a Super Bowl. He didn't win a Super Bowl. But Matt Ryan has been good in the NFL, has been above average in the NFL. Julio Jones has made him that much better, of course. But can AJ take that step to where he is capable of elevating the game like Odell Beckham and Eli Manning? Even as Eli Manning was at the end of his career was doing Odell such a disservice, you still saw Odell Beckham Jr. find ways to reach new heights. That's the kind of step that I'm looking for A.J. Brown to take. And that's basically what I'm thinking. Provided he stay healthy, there is the ability for him to, I know people in Nashville, Titans fans, you are so right to be fired up, hyped up about this guy. But what I was trying to balance myself, keep myself from doing, what was it, out there Friday at practice, because Friday AJ didn't practice. He's practiced Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday so far through the 4 days that they've had practice and training camp. So on Friday, when he wasn't out there on the field, I'm like, okay, how much stock should I put into what's going on out here? He's clearly excited. It's been a long time since he's been able to do this at allegedly full speed. He's in one-on-one matchups right now, and they're going through 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 for certain, but he's in these individual drills, these one-on-one drills, and they always favor the offense, almost always. It's why it's such a good play or such a good sign when you see a DB make a play on those one-on-one drills, because it's inherently skewed to favor the offense. So how much is AJ benefiting from that? And then I saw him give work to every defensive back out on the field, full stop. Elijah Molden, a rookie. Janoris Jenkins, a veteran. Guys who have been in the league, and he's just out there dusting all of them. And I keep trying to make sure that I'm realistic about what it is that I'm watching. But guys, it's just such a notable difference, such an incredible difference in the caliber of wide receivers that the Tennessee Titans organization had. This month will make 6 years. I think in like a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. It'll be 6 years for me living in Nashville. This will be my 5th season, heading into season number 5 covering the Titans. I don't got to tell you guys this. It's a world of difference. I mean, it's not the same team. Thank God it's not the same team. Thank God it's not the same brand of offensive football. You guys, I remember how much Titans fans hated me when I first got here, because I came to Nashville and I watched Titans games. And this was, Marcus Mariota's rookie year, which was decidedly not great. It's my first year. Then they looked better. That was probably Marcus's best year before he ended up having the injury in Jacksonville that derailed everything. Then you see, them have moments where it's really, really special and exciting to watch. But outside of that, you're winning field goal games. You're winning games against the winless Cleveland Browns without scoring a touchdown and having to go to overtime and needing Kevin Byard to get 3 interceptions off DeShone Kizer. Like, you're needing all of these things to happen to stay in these games, and it's just ugly to watch. And I remember saying that in my first job, in my first couple of years covering the team. People hated me. People were like, get this guy the hell out of here. He just exists to hate on the Titans. And I said, no, I don't hate them as a team. I don't hate them as individuals. I don't hate the coaching staff. I hate how they're playing football. And now that's no longer the case. My God, it breathed new life into what it is that I do for a living, because they just came out and started crushing skulls of opposing defenses. It's a totally different world. So now when I go out on the practice field, that's the kind of stuff I expect to see, which was not the case that long ago. We are not that far removed from being in a world of just constipated football. And now that is so far from the truth about this Titans team, and that makes all the difference in the world. Focus says we still hate you. As far as I'm concerned, there's a louder minority, and Focus is probably one of them. But to be honest, Focus, I probably hate you too. So it's okay. Balance. Yin and yang. Namaste. We need the confidence. It's overdue, says Cedric. Well, listen to what AJ Brown is saying at the podium. When the hell have you heard a Titans player not named Taylor Lewan? Because I love Taylor, but he's full of shit 9 times out of 10. But think about the last time you've heard a player that's not Delanie Walker or Jarrell Casey or Taylor Lewan strut up to the podium in front of the media and be like, yeah, everybody better have their head on a swivel because I'm coming for their ass.
Most definitely, it takes reps, but for me, like, I'm always a student first. You know, I'm always trying to watch something to learn and put it in my game. And it's off season, you know, I wasn't really able to like get out there as much. And but as soon as I got back here, I just felt comfortable. Like, you know, like I said, I could do whatever I want to do when I want to do it.
From a health standpoint, you battled with the knees last year. We didn't see the OTAs. Did you feel right from day one at camp this year, and you kind of feel like yourself again?
I'm pretty sure everybody can tell I'm healthy. Yeah. And soon everybody else will know too.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, I'm excited. You know, this is probably like one of the first times me going into training camp where I'm fully healthy. You know, like I said, I'm just flying around, having fun, and, you know, making plays.
There's plenty of plays that this man is out here making. Arthur Juan Brown is letting everybody out on that practice field know that there's no friends, there's no prisoners. It's just blood. It's crazy to watch. He gave that press conference. He was out there doing abs after practice, like doing abs and catching the football. I don't know if he took like a bad swig of Gatorade, but before he walked over the podium, he's just absolutely yakking all over the place. There was definitely a color to the Gatorade vomit. I couldn't tell which flavor of Gatorade vomit that he was yakking up. I think Kaharski got the video. It was so damn funny. But yeah, AJ, I mean, when have you ever heard? When's the last time you heard a Titans player talk like that, man? It's just it's got to be so refreshing, and it sets a level of expectation. It sets a level of greatness that you expect this dude to achieve. He expects to be able to achieve at that level. That's why when I look at AJ Brown, I'm still thinking that I'm buying stock, even though he's probably got the highest stock on the team. If you're talking about the best overall players, if you're talking about the dudes who have the ability to take over a game, and the Titans have a few of them, as we brought up earlier. AJ Brown is somebody who I still think has room to show us more. And that has to be the thing that washes over Titans fans, even if it's only in a week of camp so far. It's exciting as hell to want to go out there and watch practice. And I thought I'd never say that in my entire life, to go watch football practice in 100-degree heat, just watching dudes work out, watching AJ Brown and Julio Jones and that entire unit. We'll see what the defense. I mean, Jackrabbit Jenkins, training camp's fun, and it's good to have it back like more normal. So I'm having more fun this year than I have in a long time, it feels like, just because, you know, we didn't get a lot of this last year. But there is definitely a buzz to this team that we talked about in the offseason, right when Julio got here. But the thing is, it's sustaining now through a summer vacation, through a week of training camp. We'll see how much they continue to elevate the level of competition out on the field. Brad says, I believe he will not be content with no less than a gold jacket. I think there's some truth to that, man. You're talking about an alpha. AJ Brown is an alpha. I love that energy. And it's not like, I mean, I don't know if he shit talks on the field to opposing players. I don't know what he's like other than when he's getting in Taylor Lewan's ass against the Chiefs because Taylor got a penalty and everything. That was a moment when the rookie got into the veteran offensive lineman's face, and we were all like, "Oh, this guy is serious about what he's doing." he's confident. It's not cocky, it's confidence. And I think that's such an important element to have to a team that has had, there have been reasons for Titans fans and for Titans players and for the coaching staff and for the organization to have confidence at times. But now it's a totally different world when you talk about the collection of people that they have over there. Andrew Frill asks about Josh Reynolds. He's not healthy, is he? No, he left Thursday's practice with an injury. He was not out there Friday. He was not out there Saturday because we were supposed to have him on the radio show on Friday. By the way, I'm either going to have Amani Hooker or Jayon Brown tomorrow at 11:15 after practice. And Mike Giardi from the NFL Network. The NFL Network's going to be out at training camp tomorrow. Mike's going to sit down at the broadcast booth where I'm doing my radio show again all through training camp from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Last week, Christian Fulton, Rashaan Evans, John Robinson. We're going to keep having Titans guests live from training camp. Don't miss a minute. But anyway, I was supposed to have Josh Reynolds on Friday, and he went down with an injury on Thursday, not right after they came over and told me that that would probably be the player that they were going to give me. So after practice, I just kind of walked over to the PR staff. Just like, I'm probably not going to have Reynolds on Friday, am I? They said, no, probably not. So we'll see if an off day today and 2 days of rest, most of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today an off day on Sunday, if he's able to get back out there, we'll continue to keep you updated on the status of guys like that. By the way, Briley Moore, one of the undrafted rookie tight ends, the one out of Kansas State, I'm not sure what he did to his knee, but he went down in a heap of himself. In Saturday's practice, it looked like it was a left knee injury, I believe. He looked like he kind of planted funny, but he's been put on IR at this point. So that does make the math. I think he probably would have been the last guy in if they were to keep 4 tight ends, and there's no certainty that they would keep 4 tight ends right now. But in bringing back Luke Stocker, I think that doesn't bode well for Tommy Hudson. If you've got Swaim, Stocker, Ferkser, you have one more spot remaining. Maybe this allows Tommy Hudson to sneak in. Miller Forrestall, I don't see enough from him to differentiate from the other guys. Maybe Jared Pinkney in the mix as well. But right now, Briley Moore, who probably would have been the last one in of this group, if we were looking at 4 tight ends, he is not going to be available for the foreseeable future, which is unfortunate because you hate to see a young guy go down like that. It was reported ACL, says TJ Hines. I did not see the report on the ACL, but forgive me if I missed that earlier today. I'll go back and confirm, but I did not see at least in my injury report email that I got earlier, they did not specify ACL. Oh, okay. Justin Mello of Broadway Sports suffered a torn ACL in practice Saturday. Source said rough break for a promising young player who had a chance to make the roster. Okay, ACL. Thank you guys for pointing that out. I missed that a couple of hours ago. All right, so let's move on and let's talk about week 2, what we expect to see in week 2. We've talked about A.J. Brown. Let us talk about things that I want to see strides made. I want to see progress made in a couple of areas that we're going to get into here in just a second, right after I tell you about the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. The Gary Ashton team is where you go for your dream address without the stress. They are the best in the business when it comes to Middle Tennessee real estate. So you can find out all about what the Gary Ashton team does from the Titans, from the Predators, from me, because Gary is the official real estate agent of all of us. Or you can go and check out the Google reviews of the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage and find things like Edna wrote from working with Jennifer Hines on buying virtually from Arizona to Nashville. Jennifer went above and beyond, provided details on the neighborhood I didn't even know I needed. Jennifer would tour the streets from my workplace and report back things as small as how the neighbors took care of their properties, driving speed in the area, things of that nature. An all-encompassing experience when you trust the Ashton Real Estate Group to help you win the buyer battle or to help you sell for more with the intel that only the Ashton team can provide at GaryAshton.com. The best in the business is the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX advantage. Okay, so the question that I'm posing to you guys here on A to Z Sports Prime Time, what one area, now I know you guys have only seen videos that we've tweeted out and tweets that we've had updating you of what's happening in practice at any given point. But the question that I would like to pose to you is, what area would you like to see, or do you think you need to see the Titans make progress in during week 2 of camp? Let me know on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. We will discuss at length together right after. Well, actually, we'll do it right now. Where would you like to see them take a step forward in week 2, now that we're on to week 2? Our defense, I'm not reading Tony. Tony, don't be a pig in the comment section on YouTube, Tony. Be better than that. Cedric says our defense needs to give us some confidence. Tart got into it with Big Nate. Well, no, it wasn't. Listen, it wasn't T.R. Tart that started fights on Saturday. It was Quiet Storm Nate Davis, because it wasn't just T.R. Tart that Nate Davis tried to get a piece of. It was T.R. Tart in one play, then it was Jeffrey Simmons. And it was in the same 11-on-11 period. And first it was Tart, and there was a lot of shoving, nothing crazy. It wasn't like a full-on fight, but you could definitely tell they were getting heated. They were getting fired up. So Nate Davis is the one who took it to T.R. Tart and to Jeffrey Simmons. Nate Davis, who I have told you before, is a certified shit kicker. This dude is going to be an incredible player along your offensive line, and is getting ready to get paid, which is something that you'll have to factor into the math here in the near future. But oh my God, Nate Davis is not scared of anybody, which is, I don't know why. I mean, it's not like we know a great deal about Nate Davis personally, but we don't know a great deal about Nate Davis because he doesn't say anything. He's very quiet, very soft-spoken, very polite, very well-mannered, and then he goes around and goes out and pushes around two of the biggest and honestly loudest defensive linemen for the Titans. Simmons and Tart are nothing to be trifled with. And they know that they're nothing to be trifled with. And yet here Nate Davis is trifling with Jeff Simmons and T.R. Tart. Big Nate was not taking any shit. And it brought up the level of energy at practice in a way that I thought was important. You want guys to stay in control. You don't want them to get in too much in their teammates' face, right? You're all working towards a common goal, and it's hot and it's miserable, and you're getting Vrabel barking at you the entire hour and 15 minutes or 2 hours almost that we're out there. Hour and 45, however long it is. But damn, I'm telling you, Nate Davis that surprised me, but it made all the difference in the world on Saturday, because Friday they were pretty flat. Saturday they came out swinging. So what do you want to see them take strides in week 2? You've heard a lot about what week 1 has looked like. I think we've done a lot of great reporting, seen a lot of great social media. By the way, A to Z Sports is on TikTok. The videos that they're pumping out of the highlights at practice, second to none. Nobody else is doing it like that. You want to check it out. A to Z Sports on TikTok, if that is where you hang out, because we are all over the place. Nate Davis is a whole Buffalo, says Focus. It's true, 100%. He is I think him and Saffold and Lawan and the rest of them call each other big backs, because that is exactly what an offensive lineman needs to be. Going to have some guys to extend next offseason, says Josh Grantham. Yeah, A.J. Simmons you need to start looking at. Nate Davis, there's a lot of dudes, a lot of young. I mean, Harold is going to be up after this year, Rashawn as well. So those are guys who are less likely to get extensions, and things could change over the course of a season. But right now, I mean, you're talking about a lot of promising young players here in Tennessee that are going to be due for extensions. So what are you looking for, though, in the comments on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch? Tony Yayo says, I'm too old for TikTok. Not many 35-year-olds on there. Instagram is my jam. Oh, by the way, before I forget, in my DMs on Instagram, we're going to do the 615 Sessions podcast live from training camp this week. I'm going to have Teron Davenport, and we'll see who the third is going to be. We're still waiting for confirmation on the 3rd. But if you want your Titans questions answered, we'll go through them, the whole lot of us, TD, myself, and maybe it might be John Glennon. I'll see what Glennon's doing. It's been a while since we had Johnny G on. But we'll answer your Titans questions in the Music City mailbag. So slide in my Instagram DMs at Buck Rising, just as you see it spelled there. Send me your Titans questions. That's the easiest way for us to find them. Not on Twitter, not on TikTok, because I'm on there too. Instagram DMs, that's the place that you go for your Music City mailbag questions. We'll read your name. We'll read your handle. Maybe you get a follow out of it from a fellow Titans fan. It will be a great time. Send us your Music City mailbag questions because we tape the podcast tomorrow. Bizarro PK says, get Teresa. Teresa's in Tokyo right now. She's out here doing the damn thing internationally. She was not there for training camp. I don't think she's been there for a day of training camp yet. Yeah, because she FaceTimed from Tokyo for the first question of Mike Vrabel's opening press conference from training camp. Monsoon says, get Coach Mack. I wish we could get Coach Mack for the podcast tomorrow, but the timelines don't match up because I got to wait till after radio to do the podcast because I'm not talking enough lately. All right. So what I'm looking for in week 2, it's been, and listen, training camp is always like this. Every year that I've done this, every year that all of your favorite reporters have done this, they will tell you that defense starts camp ahead of offense. It's a lot easier for the defenses to fly around out there and make plays. And then as things start to get refined, start to get more comfortable as a unit, the rust starts to shake off. Offense, you see, take a substantial step. But right now, we need to see more from a veteran group in terms of unforced errors. And that was something Mike Vrabel spoke about on Friday.
Snaps, mishandled snaps the last couple of days. I know Ben wasn't there today.
Captain Obvious.
Thank you.
Ben was in there. Ben was in there
Today?
yesterday when we fumbled.
Right, but today wasn't.
How many we have?
3 in the last 2 days.
At least 3 in the last couple of days.
3, I know.
Yeah. That surprise, anything in particular? Doesn't seem like we see that often in camps before.
Yeah, I mean, it's most basic play in football. And we have to be better. We're trying to change the snap count up, right? We have different cadences that we use and motions. And sometimes, when you change the snap count up, and we have to work. We got to work at it. It's the most basic play. It gets the play started. That ball is going to get kicked, and it's going to go on the defensive side, and they're going to have it. And that's a really, really unforced error, and it's something that just can't happen. And so we'll just have to work it and clean it up and move on.
So that's Mike Vrabel talking on Friday about they've had fumbles, they've had quarterback center exchange issues. I was cracking up reading some of the comments while we were playing that Vrabel clip for you because Justin Tomaselli just says Vrabel is a savage. Man, just as I'm happy to have in-person interviews back with the players, I'm so happy. I mean, Mike gets after our asses, and that was a pretty mild exchange. When he's telling John Glennon that he's Captain Obvious for the fumble issues that they're having out there. And then he's asking, listen, you don't come to those press conferences and not know your shit. Honestly, I think it's made us all a lot better at our jobs because we know that Vrabel is going to ask us a question. Well, how many fumbles did we have today? Or like when my buddy Luke Worsham at A to Z Sports asked Vrabel, what was that, the 2019 season, about how often he drops Harold Landry back into coverage. And Vrabel goes, okay, well, how many snaps did we drop Harold back into coverage last game, Luke? And stuff like that. You get quizzed, so you got to know your shit. And also it makes for great comedy when we don't know our shit and then we look like fools in front of a live streamed audience because those press conferences are always live streamed. Captain Obvious. He was clearly happy about the snap, says Cody. Yeah, I mean, listen, they got new centers. They behind Ben Jones, they went and waived a couple of guys, injured a couple of guys. But they added Spencer Pulley, who's a veteran center in the NFL. And so he's coming in here to compete behind Ben Jones. Got Aaron Brewer, who is at a point where I believe Aaron Brewer is still on PUP. I may have to. Don't quote me on that. I think he might be. I can't remember if he's on PUP or NFI off the top of my head, but I believe Aaron Brewer is still on one of the lists, not the COVID list, but the PUP or the NFI. I'll need to go back and and check that out. We got to play better. We got to coach better. That's it, says Luke Corbett. Yeah, but he's more likely to cliche us over Zoom. In person, he's more likely to roast us and then give pretty good answers for the most part. But what he's saying there is we as a media corps, as a coaching staff, we need to see people. We need to see the offense play a little better. So far through 4 training camp practices, Tannehill has thrown 4 interceptions. Now he had 2 on Saturday. He had 1 on Friday, and I believe he had 1 on Wednesday. Thursday, I believe, was a clean practice for Ryan Tannehill. Jackrabbit got him twice. The second one on Saturday for 6. He took it to the house. So I need to see cleaner operation from the quarterback. I need to see the centers more comfortable with the quarterback center exchange, just simply snapping the ball. Vrabel called it unforced errors, right? I just need to see them take a step forward as far as the cleanness of the operation. And that's not much to ask, I think, at this point at all. And it's okay for them to be get them out of the way now, right? If there are fumbles happening with the quarterback center exchange, get them out of the way in the first week of camp. If you're not reading things correctly on the defense, or as the quarterback, if you're not reading the defense correctly, okay, make those mistakes now. And when you see it next week in camp, don't make that same mistake. Simple as that. Brewer is hurt, says Seneca. Thank you for reminding me, but that does not tell me which list he is on. Can Dillon be a center, says Omar Walton on Facebook Live. So I remember Greg Cosell talking about this. And by the way, new episode of the Install with Greg Cosell. I'm sorry I'm plugging so much, but I got a lot to plug. It's football season. New episode of the Install with Greg Cosell came out on Friday. We went through the 3 teams who can completely wreck things for the Titans in the AFC this year: Baltimore, Kansas City, and Buffalo. So make sure that you go check that out. Next week, it's all Titans roster analysis. So I asked Cosell about this because I know he brought this up before. I think I can't remember if he said it on 3HL or when Midday 180 was still on the Zone, if it was on Midday 180 pre-draft process. I don't recall off the top of my head, but I know somebody said something about Dylan Radins having the skill set to be able to play center, which I have no idea. He played exclusively at left tackle at North Dakota State. So I know he could play left tackle, and I've seen him play during camp in the offseason inside at guard. I don't think I've seen him at center so far. So I mean, maybe he could, but I don't know. I have no idea. Based on how that goes. I'm looking forward to have preseason games again to watch these depth guys. Lots of people hate the preseason. I love it for that reason. I'm fired up to see preseason, which is something I never thought I'd say before. It's completely foreign to me. The idea that I would be excited for preseason games. But I'm excited to watch Logan Woodside and Deshaun Kaiser and talk about quarterback battles and see what Darrington Evans is able to do with, extended reps now at practice, because Derrick Henry doesn't do a ton at practice right now, which is fine. You don't need him to. I'm excited to see the depth behind Reynolds and Julio and AJ with Des Fitzpatrick and Racey McMath, who AJ said on Saturday, Racey reminds him a little bit of Julio, which was funny as hell because he just looked down at all of us and smiled because he knew that we were all tweeting that out the minute that he said it. But preseason back, it's going to be exciting, all of it. I'm looking for a cleaner operation from the offense heading into week 2. That is going to be critical for the Titans to be able to advance. What one thing would you like to see the Titans make progress in during week 2 of camp? Trenny Davidson says he's going to Canton this weekend. So for the Hall of Fame game, that's exciting. Congratulations to you. Let's see. What else are people looking for? A lot of questions about the offensive line. I thought I saw one about kicking. Did nobody say the kicker? Because they did get a new kicker today. They added Sam Ficken, I believe, is the new kicker's name. Blake Haubeil, who's the undrafted rookie free agent from Ohio State, he was waived, and I believe Blake Haubeil is Sam Ficken. Yes, former Jets kicker Sam Ficken off of waivers. So McCann and Ficken now the kicking competition with the kicking coach, which we have not talked about, I think, on primetime yet. We'll talk about that later. Carl Crossland says returners. So they started with 3 with Batson, Chester Rogers, and Mason Kinsey at the beginning of the week with punt return. Kick return is we haven't seen quite the lineup for kick return. But on punt return, Mason Kinsey, Chester Rogers, Cam Batson. And then on Saturday, they had 2 more guys out there with them, where it was Brian Hill, the number 25, the new running back from Atlanta, and Darrington Evans was also back there. Darrington Evans did not do punt returns last year. He did do returns on kickoff. Mike Keith, quote, says Luke Corbett, the kick is fickin' good. Yes, it's a layup opportunity for all cheesy broadcasters and I bet Mike Keith doesn't do it because he's not a cheesy broadcaster. Mike's the best. Evans is out on kick returns, says Cedric. I don't think he's out at all, Cedric. In fact, I think he's the leading candidate. So I would not, I don't know where you're making that assumption from. But what I would say to you is the kicking is scary. And Hallbeal is gone now, but like we watched McCann and Hallbeal, they missed, McCann missed 2 from 33 and 42, 2 kicks from 33 and 42. They each had 6 kicks. Then Hallbeal made all of them from everything inside of 50, but his last kick was from 50, and he shanked the holy shit out of it. It was really, really bad. Rude Boy says the pot thickens. You guys with your fickin' jokes, man. Get the hell out of here. You guys are the worst. Kaiser was horrible yesterday, says Seneca. Kaiser has not been good. Kaiser has been poor by any stretch of the imagination. Kaiser has been not good in these practices. I don't know. Just the only thing that separates the two of them is that Woodside is much more accurate in the short game, but he can't throw deep. He cannot get it down there. And Kaiser is really good from deep, but everything else is brutal, and he just stares dudes down. It's really, really tough to watch out there on the practice field. I don't think he's any kind of lock for the backup quarterback position, but we'll see what happens when we get to preseason games. Mason says Logan Woodside is slept on. Not by anybody in that building, Mason. Nobody is sleeping on Logan Woodside inside the facility. But let's wrap this thing up. Let's do this as a free site. The best thing that I saw on the internet this week that I was a part of, and maybe some of you were too. The question that I want to ask you here on A to Z Sports Prime Time from the DraftKings Sportsbook Studios, this is a free site. What is the worst concert experience? And some of you may know where I'm going with this. What is the worst concert? I don't know why I said conference. The worst concert experience you've ever had. Let me know in the comments on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. We will discuss at length together as we wrap up our primetime show. What is the worst concert experience you've ever had? While you guys do that, I will tell you about our friends at Brymak Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymak.com. You will not have a bad experience with Brymak. They guarantee it. They guarantee your satisfaction on all of your HVAC needs. Commercially, they got you. Ductwork, they can do that. They can improve your air quality with duct service as well. Residentially, no problem. Get in your comfort zone at Brymak Mechanical. 3 locations, Clarksville, another in Tennessee, one in Kentucky as well, servicing a wide area throughout the mid-state and to our neighbors to the north in the great state of Kentucky. BRYMAK, Brymak.com. You will not be disappointed when they pay you a visit, as long as you've done the correct thing and get preventative maintenance from Brymak Mechanical. What's the worst concert experience you've been to? Danny Sutherland says Buck Rising is slept on. No, I'm adequately not slept on, I feel like. At least not in my opinion, but I way overvalue myself. So what are you going to do? Bizarro PK says Thunder Rolls. Yeah. Cody, here they come. The Thunder Rolls concert. Jacob Brown says Garth Brooks. Karen O'Keefe says Garth Brooks. Went to the Crawfish Boil back in 2009. What is a Crawfish Boil? Had to sit through an hour of Soulja Boy. Woof. My God. Soulja Boy was tough as a recorded artist, much less as a live show. Motley Crue went with my dad. Vince Neil, enough said. I think that, but that sounds like a good experience. Am I wrong? Am I reading that wrong? I'm talking about bad concert experience. Brian McNeil says Garth Brooks. Not a concert, says Dom Odell, but I puked. But I got puked on when 2 Chainz came to a club in Memphis. Oof, my God. Can you imagine? I've been puked on too. Once in, I think I was in college, maybe high school. Anyway, love yourself, Bucks is 20. I got no problem doing that. I went and watched Korn a few years back and drank way too much, so I don't remember it. Korn. That would be an interesting concert. But the correct answer is Garth Brooks. I went to Garth. Well, I tried to go to Garth Brooks last night. Clearly, no one was successful in trying to go to Garth Brooks because, as you'll see in the video, Garth Brooks got rained out. So this is a time lapse that we're watching right now of people exiting the stadium at Nissan Stadium. The downpour begins because they evacuate everybody to the concourse, and the lightning is like on top of people. On top of people. Then they huddle us all into the concourse, and this is what it looks like. That doesn't even begin to relay how bad we all got soaked. It was miserable last night at Nissan Stadium. And I hate country music. I could name one. Now I could name 2 Garth Brooks songs because of the amount of bad thunder rolls jokes that were made on the way. I mean, I heard 10 of them before we even got up to the concourse. So I know Friends in Low Places and whatever song has and the thunder rolls in it. Those are the only 2 Garth Brooks songs I know. I give a damn about country music, but I had some high school friends come in town. They wanted to go. So I went. Never again. Never again. This is why I do not go to live events unless I'm being paid to be there and I know I have a press box seat, because I don't know how anybody does that. It's no fun at all. Parking, lines, concessions. Give me the heck. No way. Never again. For Garth Brooks. Hell out of here. I refuse. I was there and I would go again if it was tonight, says Eswood Jr. Well, you are on your own, because I could not care. And I don't like anybody that much. Bruce Springsteen is my favorite artist. I would never, favorite like live artist. I've seen plenty of good. I've got plenty of people that I like to listen to. Bruce Springsteen just happens to be the best live act I've ever seen. And I would never, ever, ever go through what we went through last night again to see anybody. What a complete and total waste of time. Dadson says, you probably know a million country songs that you probably don't know is country. It's a broad genre, says Dadson. Yeah, it's probably true. What kind of music do I like, says Jacob? I mean, I like almost everything. And I shouldn't say widespread I hate country, because I like Chris Stapleton and I like Johnny Cash and I like Willie Nelson. I like old country music, and I like I'm 100 years old in a 28-year-old body. I love Aretha Franklin. I love James Brown. That's like my hype up music when I'm showering, get ready to go practice or do the radio show. Like, I love soul music. I'll listen to everything. I'll listen to Kanye. I'll listen to Springsteen. I'll listen to damn Pop Smoke. Like, I'll listen to literally everything. I went through a Korn phase, and I think System of a Down was a big thing for me in grade school when I was going through like a Vans skater phase, which is a part of my life I hope there are never pictures ever of again. G says Buck is down with it. That's what I'm saying. Deborah Puka says the Isley Brothers. Man, as embarrassed as I've ever been. I didn't know who the Isley Brothers were for a hot second, but you got to cut me some slack. Puka, I can't know all the old school jams and acts just because I'm I've got a very, very small brain, and there's only so much that I can fit in it. But I know that The Blues Brothers is my favorite movie, and it got me going on soul music, and that is soul music, my favorite kind of music. Just I absolutely love soul music. I go through my playlist for you real quick that I was listening to before I went out on Friday night, because I went out and got after it a little bit on Friday night. I got to pull it up so I make sure that I hit all the notes, but it just says soul. Diana Ross, James Brown, The Temptations, Sly and the Family Stone, Etta James, Ike and Tina Turner, Nina Simone, Jackson 5. I got down before I went out, sipping a little tequila. You know, it was a great time on Friday night. Saturday night, less fun, but the music was killer, absolutely killer. All right, I got to get out of here. We went long tonight. It must be football season. We got a lot to talk about. I am happy to be back for another week of primetime with you guys, Sunday to Thursday night, 8 p.m. Don't forget it. I'll be at Titans practice tomorrow, doing the radio show live, 10 to 1, 104.5 The Zone. We are expecting either Jayon Brown or Amani Hooker to be on the radio show. Mike Giardi of the NFL Network will be there as well. 615 Sessions Podcast. Send me your Titans questions to my DMs at Buck Rising on Instagram. They'll make the Tuesday podcast. And then finally, in the world of pods, episode number 4 of The Install with Greg Cosell. Episode number 3 is out now. The 3 biggest threats to the Titans in the AFC. Subscribe, rate, and review. Wednesday's episode, a deep dive on the Titans roster. And we'll do that for a couple weeks during training camp before we head to Tampa and keep bringing you fantastic Titans coverage. A2ZSportsNashville.com is where you read all of my great Titans coverage and Luke Worsham's Titans coverage. Adam Holt is writing Titans content. Everybody is cranking out all manner of good stuff because it's football season, baby. And we are just getting started, so you know we cannot be tired yet. No!